I'm clapping you guys. I'm clapping you guys because I love you guys. Right.
Benches, give us
benches, give us a song. Oh, I like that. That was getting a bit naughty, wasn't it? Oh, we like a bit of that. Right. Anyway, more to the point. I am Stanford Chidge. This is the Chelsea FanCast. That is the benches who should be quiet when we're talking on the table. They know this. Quiet when the teacher is speaking.
You know who you are.
Anyway, enough of that. We're back. And what we're back with is actually something I've been looking forward to for about 2 years. 2 years ago, I was very, very honoured and privileged to get invited to what they call a test screening by my dear old mate Paul, who I'm privileged to know really by doing this show as it happens. And it was fantastic. And now it's done. The baby has been born, Paul.
Finally.
Can you tell us just a little bit, for a minute or two, what the film is essentially about?
Essentially, it's about the history of Formula One. It basically charts the whole history from 1950 to the current day. But we focus on the evolution of the safety through the years, and basically focus on the probably what was the deadliest decade between 68 and 78.
Lots of crashes.
Lots of fatalities and unnecessary fatalities. And so the film sort of takes a great look at what we call the golden era. I mean, for me, I don't know if you remember, but those guys were who you wanted to be. When you grew up as a kid, you wanted to be James Hunt.
Yeah.
You know, you wanted to be Francois Sabert. You wanted to be...
They were all very good looking, and they had long hair and big
sideburns. And they had girls in their arms. And there were stories of them partying all the time. They're driving fast cars. So, you know, that was the era that captured my imagination.
And mine.
Yeah, I mean, I was more of a footy fan for sure, but it was you couldn't get away from it in England. And it was a really... It's an incredible story because it didn't take one man. It wasn't one man's effort. Right, I'm going to do this and I'm going to put this right. It was everybody's effort. It took efforts from the drivers of the 60s, and Sir Jackie Stewart was really the big champion in the 60s, and then the mantle was taken over from him by people like Emerson Fittipaldi, and then Nicky Lauda and Nigel Mansell, and so on and so on. Everyone's been very much involved in trying to make the sport safer, because the attitude back in the day was, if you think it's too fast, slow down, and that was it. That was basically the protection. There was no one...
Which you couldn't do, because the machinery was getting faster and faster.
Exactly, because in 68 the engines doubled in size, the sponsorship came in, aerodynamics came in, so the cars were going twice as fast, and nothing else has changed. And the circuits would have to pay the TV people to come in, and if they had to make it safer, they'd have to pay for it. There was no governing body to say, no, we're going to protect our drivers. And the drivers need protecting from themselves, because a driver will drive the fastest car.
That's what they do.
They'll drive. Is that car dangerous? Yeah, I'll drive it. It's the fastest one. I'll drive the fastest one.
It's really because so basically, really, the film centres around the golden age of motor racing, which is the 70s, and of course, as you say, one of the reasons why a lot of us revere that age is because it was absolutely mental, and there were a lot of crashes. And we've actually got a little clip from the film, which you've really generously allowed us to run. Which absolutely epitomises, I think, one of the most famous crashes of that time. And I think we're going to run it right now.
In 1976, the defending champion and points leader Nicky Lauda called on his union to boycott the Nürburgring, citing unsafe track conditions.
They couldn't marshal it. It would take an army of firefighters to do any good.
It will be your decision if the race will continue.
Hunt cast his vote to race. Lauda was defeated by the slimmest of margins. 1.
Came around the turn. He was sideways in the middle of the track. His car was on fire.
There's Brett Lunger getting out of the Surtees and into the flames.
The Ferrari had different belts and different systems. Art Mazzaria had driven a Ferrari. He was able to get in, undo the belts. I was on top of the car, and I grabbed Nicky's shoulders and pulled him out of the car.
Lauda is finally dragged clear from the burning inferno. The race, of course, is stopped.
I remember him saying to me, "What's my face like? What's my face like?" In fact, we didn't know he had ingested a lot of toxic fumes from the burning resin and fiberglass of the bodywork of the car.
People were already talking about him in the past tense.
We were both certain that when we turned the radio on, we'd hear the morning news saying he was dead.
I think round of applause for that. That is stunning, absolutely stunning. Tell you what. I mean, I've I'm sure it's changed immeasurably since I saw the test screening. But one of the things that caught me when I saw it, even that, was that you have some incredible archive footage in there, and secondly, some stunning motor racing people in there, Paul.
Yeah, that's one of the things that I think that sets us apart from other motor racing documentaries of this ilk, is that we were able, and largely due to the fact that we had support from Formula One management and Bernie Ecclestone, able to get to all these people. We do have an incredible list of drivers, mechanics, wives, designers, sons, fans, girlfriends. Everybody is that was around and witnessed this stuff and had something to do with it. As you saw there, Brett Lunger, who was the first guy to come around, and he actually hits Nicky and then he pulls him out the car. We were able to get him for an interview, and we got Nicky Lauda to do an interview for us as well. That was very fun trying to get him. I'll tell you some of that story off air, but it was exciting.
Sorry, guys, that's for us, not for you.
Time.
Sorry,
but that's what we're most proud of. Dr. Sid Watkins, we have Max Mosley, we have
who's sadly no longer with us, of course.
We lost Dr. Sid, and my biggest regret is that he passed before we got the film to him, before we got him to see it, which is a real shame, because he really was instrumental and the man that changed it. Between him, Bernie, Max, and him, the three of them. I mean, it was Sid's ideas, Bernie's pushing to implement it, and then Max Mosley's position at the FIA to actually willing to do these changes and take it on a scientific level, that really made the difference. And the biggest thing that we all have to understand, and what's most important, is that we all benefit from this. We all benefit in our cars today. Our cars are safer on the roads because of the technologies that Formula One motor cars have developed. And so there's, like as Max says in our film, 30,000 people get killed every day on the roads. So if you can make a 1% difference, that's 30 people a day. Yeah. That's 30 lives a day you're saving, and that alone justifies everything that's happened.
It's interesting. You're quite keen, because I know you're a big F1 fan.
I am. Yeah. I was going to ask.
And a big Paul Crowder fan.
Definitely. I can't wait actually to go see it, because it's on the film festival.
We're playing at the London Film Festival this week, so I'm back in England.
But I wanted to ask, where do you think the sport would be today without all of these safety changes? I'm not sure what would have happened to the sport. I think that was very apparent, and the reason that the Nicky Lauda crash is seminal to the story is that that race, 3 weeks after that crash, where he got burnt incredibly bad, he was back racing at Monza 3 weeks later. Now, what happened was he was killing the season. He was running away with it, and then what happened? James Hunt won a couple of races while Nicky wasn't racing, and got to catch up with him. And in the races that followed, Hunt was pushing him, and it came down to a final race of the season. It was the last race of the season in Japan, in the rain, two guys, winner take all. And one of them said, "I'm not going to race because it's too dangerous. It's not." And that's when the sport went, well, wait, if we've got the two best drivers in the world don't want to fight for the best position, then there's no sport. So we really do have to change it. That was like the wake-up call within the sport.
And Hunt won it, didn't he?
And Hunt won it. He won it by
Hunt the Shunt.
He won by 1 point, and he came.
Not to be confused with Stephen Hunt.
No, exactly.
It was a euphemism, as all Chelsea fans know.
Yes, indeed. Don't even mention him.
It's on the list. We can't.
Yeah, exactly. But that was the thing. He won it by 1 point. He came third in the race. If he had come fourth, he wouldn't have been world champion. And all Nicky had to do was finish in the points, and he probably would have been too much for James to have caught him.
Do you think he bottled it?
I don't think he bottled it. No, I think if you ask Nicky, he says so. He doesn't regret his decision, never. And if he had to do it again,
a bit like Jackie Stewart, he didn't race in his last ever race, did he? Because Francois Sever got killed, didn't he? And he, out of respect, didn't race. And that was going to be his last ever Formula One race.
It was going to be his 100th.
100, sorry, yeah, 100.
He was on his 99. He was going to finish the season on 100, retire, and it was a secret that he was going to retire. And he pulled out of the race and never raced again. And that was part of the reason, was because of people like Sever passing. And Nicky says, I've seen what it can happen. Look at me. This is what can happen when it goes wrong out there.
You know, I don't want to go through that again.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to do it.
In his position, absolutely fair enough.
Absolutely.
Now, I mean, talking about, I mean, he incredible story and incredible battle, and of course they've gone off and done that as Rush with a bloke in an Australian accent. We won't talk about that film. James Hunt, Cobber. But you've gone through your own battle with this, because I mean, how long has this film taken to make?
Well,
Paul?
we pitched it in 2007. Jonathan Bracey-Gibbon came up with the idea, and Michael Shavloff, the producer, came up with the idea in 2006, and we pitched 2007. We started filming 2010. We filmed that whole season. We did a lot of our interviews. We had a first cut in 2011, and the end of 2011 we came to England, is when you saw it. We screened last year with the finished product, except for Michael Fassbender, who we got to narrate after that. But we had a finished film 2 years ago, and we've been sitting basically on the shelves, waiting to come out. And actually, Rush helped in a way, because it gave people the idea. Well, if we put it behind Rush, then we'll have a little kicker. Where we were hoping to be out behind Senna and get a kicker from that and ride that wave.
But I think actually you're probably better off riding this wave, because in a way, you know, Rush is the drama. And actually, to be fair, I've seen a few interviews with Ron Howard, and he says, well, you know, the reality was a little bit different. We've got to make a story here. It's called a film. So, you know, in a way you can say, well, you've seen the story, now see the facts.
Exactly.
That's the great thing about documentary.
No, and that's the thing. Is like ours is all, you know, we have the real James Hunt, the real Niki Lauda in the film. And we, not only does it tell you the story of Rush, but it tells you the story pre-Rush. I mean, if you love Senna, this is the sequel. This is the prequel to Senna as well, because it's everything up to what happened after, you know. And the same with Rush, it tells you the story before and after what happened. I mean, the amazing thing about Niki Lauda is he came back and won the World Championship after that, and then he retired and he came back and won another World Championship.
Quite a phenomenal guy,
quite an incredible driver,
You must have, I mean, you know, clearly you had brilliant access for the reasons that you said before, and I know how much fun it can be making films. You must have some great stories from the making of this.
Oh, yeah, we have some fabulous ones. I mean, it's just, you know, too much fun sometimes with it. I mean, the first meeting with Bernie, going in to meet Bernie and pitch him, and I can't say the dialogue, but there was a moment in there where we suddenly realised we were inside. He said something, and it just brought us all in, and we laughed our heads off, and we knew, Mike and I sort of gave each other a look, and we were like, this is going to happen. And at the end of that meeting, we shook hands and we made the deal. Getting to see the film, I got to screen it with Sir Jackie Stewart at his house, and we sat and watched it because I wanted his blessing. He'd been incredibly supportive to us and gave us a great interview. I wanted to make sure that we'd done the right thing, because so much of the story was through people he knew. So I you know, getting the blessing from within the sport itself was very important. And I got to sit and watch it with him and Lady Helen and Sir Jackie's son Mark Stewart, who's a great filmmaker himself. And as things would go through, they were talking. You know, you could see Helen and Jackie sort of like remembering moments and talking about stuff and watching their reactions and watching them wipe away tears when Severe passes. And it was just an incredible thing for me. And some of the other stuff was like going to the races. The paddock passes we got to go to races was just wonderful. So we got a lot of those 2010 season. And last year in Austin, we were in the Red Bull tent, and Sir Jackie's in there, and we sat down and qualifying's going on, and Sir Jackie gave us a play-by-play of everything what the drivers are thinking. Wow. This is what this guy's going to do. You know, you could see what was coming out, who was trying to get. He says what he needs to do here is he needs to make sure he can get that corner here, get through that. That's where he's losing the tape. He had it all down, and it was just, you know.
They are phenomenal, aren't they? I mean, I'm not I'm not as much of a fan as Ross is, for example, but I have a fascination with it. And you know, the one thing I've learned is that these guys are phenomenal. The speed at which they think when they drive what is, you know, I mean, I know it's a lot safer than it was, but it takes a lot of ability to drive a car like that.
200 miles an hour, feet first.
You know, it's mental, and yet they're so super bright, and they're all of their senses working in one to do that. They are phenomenal, these guys.
They're not like you and I in that respect. You know, people say,
They've obviously seen me drive a car.
Could we drive a Formula 1 car? No, we couldn't.
No.
You couldn't. I mean, I think I've seen people try, and they just end up the back of the car comes around. Because you try and drive it normally. But just having, you know, that speed and the speed of thinking and the, you know, nowadays the view is this. You can't see anything.
Yeah.
You're so low in the cockpit, you can barely see over the top. You've got like unbelievable tiny movements to turn, to control the steering wheel. They really are a special breed.
Now, I'm going to throw a right curveball
Go
in
on
here
then.
now before I actually
I'll get my baseball
allow
glove.
you to tell us where we can see it and all the rest of it. But if I don't ask you this, CFC Away will never forgive me. I have actually heard this story,
All
but
right,
can you
Paul.
tell me about the lamppost in Manchester, Paul?
We were up. It was great. We just won the league. It was one of my favourite away trips ever. And we just won the league. We went up to Old Trafford, and we were just mucking about. We were just having fun. Paul was going up to every Mancunian he could find. Go, champions this end, is it? Champions that way? Like all the stewards and everyone was like, which way the champions stand? Over here, great. And we would, it was a wind up. But one of my tricks, I just like messing about, and I've got this ring. It's a good trick if you at a party and someone's talking to you, you don't want to talk to them anymore. You can sort of like bring your glass up and use a ring to sort of hit the glass and go, oh, hang on a minute, get it right. Oh, hang on. I've got to go, hang on. And you can get away and go to the bathroom and sort it. So I like to do that on lampposts and sort of like hit the ring really hard.
A bit like Harry Worth, but
or run at the lamppost and just sort of pretend I'm talking to you and just walk into it. And I did one of those, and I just got everybody. Everybody thought I'd completely and utterly walked into the lamppost. And it just was one of those moments, really. You had to kind of be there.
How much do you miss? Sorry, Ross, you're going to...
Yeah, I was just going to say, who's your favourite driver currently on the F1 grid?
Right now, I'm a bit of a patriot, I like Lewis. I wish Lewis had. I wasn't sure about him leaving McLaren, but seeing them drive this year, I think he's in a better car. But I like him, and I think Vettel's brilliant. I mean, that guy's a machine. You don't win that many races because you've got a good car. There's more to him than just having a Red Bull.
I'm with you on Lewis for sure.
Yeah, I love Lewis. I think he's a great driver, and he gets an awful bit of bad luck this season, and I really hope he can win another championship because he well deserves it. He's a fabulous driver. A great bloke as well.
What about your favourite driver ever then?
Favourite driver ever? Jim Clark. I think you have to be Jim. He was just a bit special. I mean, and that's more from watching the footage that I've seen and hearing people talk about him and the stuff. I mean, that guy only came second once. If he didn't finish the race, he'd either win it or not finish. So he came second once in his career. That's how good a driver.
Tragically died.
And tragically died at Hockenheim in a Formula 2 race. That because they got paid so little, they'd go race other races just to keep racing and keep the family on the road. And he went off into the trees. There was no barriers in those days. So you don't wear seatbelts because if you hit anything, you want to get thrown free from the car because you don't want to stay in the car because the car's most likely going to catch fire. That was the other big thing, was they were sitting on top of the tanks, and they were aluminium tanks, or aluminum if you're in America, and they were just basically mobile bombs. The car would break open, the metal rubs together, spark, bang.
I was going to ask, because they said that in your trailer, they said they're like virtually mobile bombs.
Yeah, I mean, they literally were like that.
We need to tell the people, the world, in fact, because this is a global show, when it's not geo-blocked. Where can people see this film, Paul?
Well, if you're in London, you can come see it tomorrow, Tuesday, at the London Film Festival. It's playing Tuesday, Friday and Sunday. If you're in the United States, you can download it on iTunes, Amazon, or any of the VOD outlets in America. We're currently number one in the docs on iTunes. I have to say I haven't had a number one when I was a musician, so I'm glad to have one in my as a doc. And we're going to be out theatrically in the UK in 2014, and the rest of Europe around the same time. Over the next 6 months, we're trickling out. Australia is in November, Italy's December, England's February, China, Asia, I think is around March, April, May. So if you watch out for it over the next 6 months, we're coming to a city near you.
So you can see it in the cinema, you can see it on iTunes, DVD release?
We're definitely doing a Blu-ray DVD release, comes out, that's
Excellent.
out, all follows it up. But yeah, we're iTunes in the US only right now.
Okay, well, I can't, okay, well, I'm lucky enough to be going to see it on Sunday with you, and hopefully I will see you on Saturday at the Cardiff game.
I'll be at the Cardiff game.
And we'll have a few ales
We'll
with
do
all
that.
the boys. It'll be lovely to see you. But until then, I mean, Paul, brilliant. Thank you so much for having me. Lovely time. I'm honoured. It's really lovely to see him, and it's special stuff. Right, after the break, it's more special stuff. It is, if you don't ask, you do not get.